Now you often see that term thrown around, flagship killer, iPhone killer. To me that's mostly just clickbait to get people to watch a video, but you cannot deny that the Realme X2 Pro that I've had now for a few days and been using non-stop is a true value flagship here, that it does have some killer specs for the price. Snapdragon 855 Plus, which is of course Qualcomm's latest and Android's best chipset. We've got up to 12 gigabytes of RAM and up to 256 gigabytes of UFS 3 storage in the top model. We've got a 6.5-inch Samsung 90 Hz Super AMOLED panel with 1000 nits of brightness. And let's not forget, super quick, in my testing, 30-minute charging. So you can go from 0 to 100% in under 30 minutes, which is pretty amazing here. So overall, this phone, in my time using it, I think is definitely one of the best of the year that I've seen. So the build of the phone, let's cover that first, that it does feel very good. We've got Gorilla Glass 5 on the rear and the front glass as well. It's curved on the rear, not on the front, and in hand does have a good feel to it. Now the phone is about approximately 200 grams the weight, and it is 9.1 millimeters the thickness, and just over 10 with that camera. You can see the camera does stick out a little, but only by about a millimeter or so. We've got our SIM tray right here on the right hand side that will take 2 nano SIMs. It does have a rubber gasket around it, but it doesn't support micro SDs, which is really unfortunate because the base model starts at 64 gigabytes only, and I believe they should have gone with 128. So down the bottom, 3.5mm headphone jack. Great to see this on a flagship with so many manufacturers dropping them, of course. Type-C doesn't support video out. Mic and the loudspeaker. One of 2. The earpiece also houses 1. So the notch and the bezels around here of the screen, you can see, are not the slimmest. This camera up front is 16 megapixels with an f2.0 aperture. And up the top, we've got just a secondary mic, so no IR transmitter with this phone. So overall, a decent build. Does it feel like a premium flagship? No. Okay, so next to my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus and my Huawei P30 Pro, it doesn't quite have the same high quality feel, but that's understandable with these phones on release. We're about twice the price of this phone. It in fact feels a lot like the Xiaomi Redmi Note 8 Pro that I have, and as you can see, they both look very similar with the same kind of camera layout. Odd placement of the Realme logo right here. I think they should have put their branding down the bottom. That would have been just a little bit better for aesthetics. So I've got a Samsung Super AMOLED panel in this. It's 90 Hz the refresh rate, and that's the UI by default. And I'll show you the settings we do get with it, but first some real world images. It's a very nice screen, 1000 nits maximum brightness, and it does come with a pre-applied screen protector, which I still have on there because I don't want to scratch the screen. Even though it does have Gorilla Glass 5, I find personally it does scratch quite easy. Now the gamma is a little off here. This is the out-of-the-box default settings, so it's about 2.4, ideally, or even 2.3 there. It should be 2.2, so it's not too far off. It's not like some of the Honor phones I've looked at that will be like 1.6, which is really quite off. So let's take a look also at our display settings here, and you can see that we've got a lot of options. So you've got night shield, you've got this screen dimming here, which they call low brightness flicker-free eye care, screen color mode. It's on the default vivid. I prefer actually gentle. To me is a little bit more correct there. And of course the refresh rate. So 90 Hz or 60 is the option. There's no adaptive refresh rate, okay? Not with this. But you're able to set per app which one you want to run at 90. So you could just say, oh, I want all my games to be at 90 Hz and I want just the normal UI and Chrome to be 60. You're able to tweak that. And we've got white balance as well here. Of course, auto brightness is there and your typical kind of settings. So a lot of people are also asking about the off-screen clock here, which is there always on display or ambient display, and not a lot of options, okay? So just schedule it. That's it, okay? So you can have it come on at 6 in the morning and off at midnight. That is basically it. I'll quickly demonstrate to you. So it's going to show the date, the time, battery percent, and of course, it will slowly move around to stop any screen burn. So onto our audio quality and call quality. So first up, calls. I've made a few calls on this, and the mics are using noise cancellation. It's very good quality and it sounds very similar to any other mobile flagship ones as well. No issues with that. And of course, we've got a normal earpiece. The sound is good to me and no problems with signal strength either. So audio quality, we've got 3.5mm headphone jack. It does sound very good, but I don't think it sounds quite as good as some of the 3.5mm headphone jacks, at least when they have them on, say, Xiaomi phones that I've reviewed, but it's great. And Bluetooth audio as well, working fine, no strange disconnections. So I've got dual loudspeakers. The one at the top is more mids and highs, and we're getting more mids and just the lows coming out of the bottom speaker, a little bit more, but overall, for loudspeakers, it's actually very good loudness, and I love the fact you can feel the bass vibrations through the phone. It does add a lot to gaming, but here's a quick sample of just how these speakers do sound. Okay, so the phone's got Android 9 out of the box. Now, I was really hoping for Android 10. It runs Color OS, which is their own skin. A lot of people aren't fond of it. I was never really fond of it, especially the previous versions, but it actually is getting better. Now, the apps drawer here looks so familiar. Oxygen OS, okay, they're the same company, and you can clearly see that they are using some of the optimizations from OnePlus, from Oxygen OS, because it is very, very smooth and fluid. I'm using full screen gestures, and I'm not seeing any lag whatsoever. This is a really fast phone, and it's not just because of the 90 Hertz, okay? And all that nonsense of once you experience 120 Hertz screens on mobiles or 90 Hertz, you can't go back to 60 Hertz is to me absolute rubbish, okay? Because I go back to my Samsung S10 Plus, I go back to my Huawei P30 Pro, both with 60 Hertz screens. I don't have any problems. You do notice it for the first 10 minutes, and that's really about it. So really good performance of the ROM. There really is not a lot to talk about with the ROM because it's just fast. If you don't like it, you can swap over to Nova Launcher, which I did test out. You can run, as you can see there. You just need to go into the settings and set it later as the default system launcher. Now, I also want to run through my typical test. I showed some of this on my first video, so I do apologize for those that watched it if I'm repeating a few things here. So the performance, this is of course in their gallery app, is very quick. I've got all my screenshots. But I first wanted to concentrate actually on probably one of the most important things for people is battery life. So I have run it both at 90 Hertz and 60 Hertz to get an idea of just what kind of battery life we can expect. Now this is just an estimate, all right? This is not exact kind of use that everyone's going to get. Everyone's use is different. So you can see I was running YouTube a lot. I did a lot of gaming, Call of Duty, but for some reason this is not reflecting the use that accurately, and neither is the screen on time with their app. So they're telling me with 90 Hertz that I got 5 hours and 43 minutes, okay? But really, if you have a look at Gcam battery monitor, I disabled always on display as well, so it wasn't going to interfere with it. I'm getting about 8 hours, okay? So this is good. This is a step down, as you'll see, from 60 Hertz, but overall, demanding use, okay? If you're a heavy user, you're going to make it through a full day. Medium user, a day and a half on 90 Hertz. On 60 Hertz, you get then 2 days. So 60 Hertz, I got almost 11 hours. It wasn't the same kind of use. This was mostly on wireless and data. There was a mix of it, about 50-50 I tried to make it, okay? So if you're more on data, expect less. But very good battery life on 60 Hertz refresh rate. But I would still go with the 90, even though you're taking quite a hit. It's just nice to have, of course, and part of the reason of buying this phone. Alright, so this is a gamer bench that someone was asking for. Pause the screen if you want to see all those details on this one. I thought I would just include it. GPS does work very well. You get an accuracy of about 4 meters. It's not the best I've actually seen. I've seen 2. It is dual frequency GPS, so how can we tell? Well, you can see level 5 here, okay? Carrier frequency, and the E5A, I believe, is a second frequency there as well. So that is going to help out. And here's our Antutu score. So I did show this on the first video. Very, very good, okay? That was not in the performance mode. It was just normal. So you might be able to squeeze out a little bit more. Remember, I've got the 12 gigabytes of RAM, so the 6 gigabyte version would probably be a little bit less here, somewhere around 360,000. Wireless speeds, it uses both 2.4G and 5G wireless at the same time to get some phenomenal speeds here and really, really good performance. I want to see more phones with this feature. The internal storage, so this has the UFS 3 storage, but if you get the base model, it's only UFS 2.1, but UFS 2.1 is not going to bottleneck the system. Very quick speeds, good random writes and reads, as you can see from that. Camera API 2 support is level 3, so yes, Google Camera, in fact I've got it installed, is going to work there. Widevine level cert 1, okay, so it's security level 1, that means Netflix and Full HD, Amazon Prime Video and other streaming services. You do get some bloatware, this is one of the cons, so they put Facebook on there and all sorts of junk, as well as a bit of Google bloat, but you can remove those apps, which is great. And you can see that we're on security patch level September the 5th, but unfortunately only Android 9. Hopefully we get Android 10 soon. And I am on the latest version of this software at the time of this video. So you probably saw this, Google Camera is on here. So this is the latest Gcam port for the OnePlus 7T that I'm testing out. Unfortunately, when we go to the night site, the night mode, okay, it's going to crash. So I'll take a photo, you hold it still, you see the preview and boom, it's gone. So some of those guys, there's some brilliant work being done with XDA forums and all the rest of the developers. We'll have a working port, I'm sure, within a month or so. On to gaming now. Call of Duty, as expected, this is running at 60 frames per second on the absolute maximum settings. And I'm probably about to die here. Oh no, got him. But very fluid. I've been playing more of Call of Duty than I'd like to actually admit, hours on end, and it just runs great on this phone. As expected, very immersive too with the front-facing single speaker there and the dual speaker setup, and the fact that of course they're very loud, these speakers. Now with PUBG, I wanted to run it on the maximum settings because we all know that the Snapdragon 855 Plus, especially with 12 gigabytes of RAM, will run this game on the default normal settings just fine. So using GFX tool, I forced everything onto the highest possible settings here. So let's see how it performs. So as expected, even on the maximum settings, we're not stressing out the Snapdragon 855 Plus here. It is running this game at a constant 60 frames per second, as you can see. Well, okay, 58, 59. It always sits just about 1 frame per second less. And this is the built-in gaming system they have, their gaming mode, their game space. So you can record the screen, you can take screenshots. It gives you a little bit of information on your battery life. This is your signal strength for wireless right there. You can see excellent. And then your CPU and GPU. How are they being taxed? And you can see, well, GPU is currently up to 85% just then it peaked. Now this is probably one of the more demanding games you can get on Android. On the Ultra setting, this is Shadowgun Legends. And unfortunately, I am seeing some frame dips and a little bit of lag at times. You can see that noticeably the frames will dip down to about 30 frames per second from 60. And there's only one Android mobile I've seen that can run this game super smooth and fluid. And that's the Asus Republic of Gamers 2 phone. It doesn't seem to run into those issues. If I look at the frames per second right now, if I can bring down the menu, you see 45 just then, and I've seen it get down to 35, 39. So it just shows you how demanding this game really is. And now I'm in the stock camera app here, just to run through this very briefly. A lot of people are asking about this. So where's the hybrid 20 mode and where are the samples? Well, I can't give you any samples because it's not actually in the current firmware at the time of this video. So that's our normal sensor there, 2 times, that'll swap over the 2 times camera. And when I hit the next one's 5, which is actually very poor quality. And you'd think it would go over 20 now, right? But the 20 times hybrid is not currently in there. It cycles over to the ultra wide camera. So you can either tap through or just over here is a little faster. Now they've got chroma boost, which I prefer to have off. AI modes and things like that as well are there. Videos all the way up to 4K 60, and there will be a sample of 4K 60 separate from this that I will include in a separate video. And the expert mode for the camera that a lot of people are asking for, that is actually a little disappointing, okay? We've just got exposure, shutter rate, white balance, autofocus. That's it. So not like, for example, Huawei or Samsung that gives us a lot of options there. No, not there. Now I'll show you in the settings, there is a little bug here that it often will revert the video resolution, will end up going back when you're in the video mode, of course, to 1080p and won't actually stay on 4K if you want that. It's a little bit annoying, but hopefully they fix this. So this is a 4K 30 frames per second sample, so we do have electronic image stabilization. Now when you pan around, you sometimes see a few little stutters because of that electronic image stabilization. I find the focus to be good. I don't really have too many problems with it. You get a bit of a crop, of course, because of the electronic image stabilization. You can see my hand is quite close here, even though I'm holding it out, and you see that focus isn't really having too many issues. Now the audio quality is very good. Microphones are quite sensitive, and they have a bitrate of 320 kilobytes per second, but what I have noticed is they are really susceptible to wind noise a little bit more than other phones. So I'm just going down the stairs here just to demonstrate how smooth this footage is. And of course we do have that ultra steady mode, which I will demonstrate now going up these stairs. So this is now the ultra steady footage, which records in 1080p 60 frames per second. There is no ultra steady 4K option, but we do have 4K 60. So when I pan around here, that it's just a little bit smoother. But really this is more for using, for example, tailing someone that's on a bike or a skateboard. So I'm just going to jog ahead now, and we'll see how stable this is. And you'll hear that those mics are picking up just the breeze of me running here. And you see that is quite a bit smooth. I go up these stairs, and it does a good job here, but it does have a huge crop to it, this footage. Now with a front-facing camera, the crop isn't too bad, but we don't have any electronic image stabilization for some odd reason. Now it's on the Realme 5 Pro, and it's on the Realme X2 that I've reviewed, but not on the X2 Pro. So hopefully they can add this with software, so you can see that when you walk along, that it is going to have all this shake to it and tremors, so not really that great. You're going to need a gimbal until they sort this out and add that electronic image stabilization. Audio sounds good again here, which is good. But as mentioned, it will pick up on the slightest bit of wind or breeze passing over those microphones. They are really sensitive. And because why not, here is a low light sample. Now again, it's 4K, 30 frames per second, and you can see that the quality has degraded, and we are getting some noticeable jarring in the video with the electronic image stabilization. But you've got to remember that these conditions are of course difficult for any mobile phone. So as you can see from those camera samples, that the low light is the area of weakness here, but we're going to have Google camera ports that'll work. I've got one installed, and the normal photo modes work, but night doesn't, okay? It crashes on me, as I pointed out. But there will be a fix for that soon, so that will hopefully correct night photography, and we'll get slightly improved pictures there if that is what you're after. Now the front-facing camera, electronic image stabilization doesn't work with video, but I'm sure that is going to be fixed considering the fact that the Realme 5 Pro and the X2 both do have it enabled. I think it's just a bug there. There was another bug too, that it doesn't remember the video resolution you set. After a day or so, it seems to revert back to 1080p by default all the time, so you have to keep going into settings and putting it into 4K, which is a very minor annoyance there. But otherwise, I really haven't encountered any major bugs. The ROM is super fast and fluid. I can see optimizations clearly from Oxygen OS, from OnePlus. They're here. I mean, look at the App Store. The App Store looks like Oxygen OS. So performance is great. It has a very good screen on it. Very, very good, okay? You've got 1000 nits of brightness. In-screen fingerprint reader is also there. As I demonstrated, it is very quick, faster than my Huawei P30 Pro. Faster, I think, even maybe than my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus as well there. And the face unlocking too is very fast. Great battery life. Most people, so very heavy users on 90 Hz will make a day, I believe, unless you're gaming. So I did a gaming test, non-stop gaming at 100% white brightness. Worst case scenario, right? 4 hours. Almost 4 hours is what you're going to get there if you're a gamer. So the gaming performance, I have to say here that it's great, okay, but I did see a few little stutters, micro stutters with Shadowgun Legends. Now, if any game's going to show us the weakness of a GPU, or the optimization, I should say, then it's that one. Because nothing out there beats the Asus Republic of Gamers Phone 2, because I didn't see any of those issues. I didn't see any stutters or lag in Shadowgun Legends. The Asus Republic of Gamers Phone 2 is the gaming phone to go for if you're really, really, really into your mobile games like Call of Duty, PUBG, that's the one. Okay, but still very good on this, don't get me wrong there. So all round, I really like this phone. I think it is the best value flagship that you can get out there at the time of this video course, and it does come recommended from me. I do believe though that hopefully with the next model, Realme gives us a base storage of not 64 gigabytes, but 128, because if they're gonna drop the micro SD card support, which is one of the cons, then really I think they should have the base model at 128 gigabytes. Would have been, I think, a sweet spot there, because that could put some people off only 64. That's why they want you to buy, of course, the more expensive model. So thank you so much for watching this review, detailed, lengthy. I hope you hung in there, and if you did, well done. And if you like this style of review, please do subscribe for more, and I hope to see you again in the channel. Bye for now.